All right, we are live here with a good friend of mine, Jerry Fetta, and we'll let a few people hop on before we get deep into it. But I know most of the people that are going to watch this are going to watch this. The recording people usually get about 1,500 to 2,000 people watching this, and so we're going to talk money, hard assets, fake money, God's money, or real money. Real estate, the Federal Reserve, inflation, hyperinflation, economic collapse. Shit, I mean, we could talk about a lot of things, huh, Jerry?
Yeah, what'd you call it? The nasty and dirty truth about money?
The nasty and dirty truth about money, yeah. And I think it'll be an eye-opener for a lot of people who are especially into this Bitcoin craze that's going on. I mean, I don't quite understand it. I tried to understand it years ago. But I just can't get into a currency that I can't touch, feel, or even understand who created it, because nobody knows who created it.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly a man that lives in Japan, right? He's like he needs some old man who lives in Japan.
That's what I hear. What is it? Yakamoto, right? So
Yakamoto.
Moto or something. Yeah. My brother actually texted me. His name is an acronym. If you take like the first two letters of like Nokia, Motorola, Samsung, that's actually how his name was built. So it's not even Satoru Yakamoto. Like we don't even know if the guy's Japanese, Chris. It could legit be. It could legit be Klaus Schwab over there in Europe with his naked cat.
Well, now we got a few people on. Now let's we got Jerry Fetta here. Jerry, tell them a little bit about yourself. Jerry's I've been following Jerry for a while. We know each other through just different circles. He's he kind of helps people build wealth through hard assets. And tell them a little bit about you, Jerry, before we get started.
Yeah, so I own a company called Wealth Dynamics, and we help people learn the truth about money, the nasty, dirty truth about money, and we help them build a blueprint to financial freedom so that they can stop trading time for currency. And so that's kind of what I do. My background, though, so I used to be a mainstream financial advisor. So I did stocks, bonds, mutual funds, retirement planning. I work for a large national firm. I was endorsed by Dave Ramsey in like 7 or 8 different states throughout the Midwest and on the East Coast as well. So I've been in the finance industry since I was 18. And growing up, like for me, I never had money. So I started learning about it from the fat cats on Wall Street. And there was a disconnect. And that's where I started getting into like hard assets and cash flows. I started learning, the truth about money, where it came from, how it works, how our economy really operates, which is not in any of the stuff they have you take on these tests. I took, so many exams to be in that industry, and none of it was like actual true stuff. It was just sales pitches that Wall Street wants you to know.
Well, Jerry, let's talk about, what is money anyway? Like, we always talk about how much money or wealth, and what's the actual definitions? What does that mean? Because, because everybody thinks if you got a bunch of, where's my wallet? All this, paper,
I don't even carry paper anymore.
All this paper currency that we keep in our wallet, right? It's just basically ink and wood printed on, and to say, hey, this is currency. It's really not anything but a piece of paper with ink on it, right? I mean, that's really all it is. But it's backed by confidence by the U.S. government that says it's currency. But let's talk about what's the difference between currency and money.
Yeah, so currency is literally just a medium of exchange, and currency and money at one point they were the same thing. Like if you go all the way back, we had bartering, and then from bartering we decided we need some kind of like a common medium system that we could all agree upon. And you can see people that used corn and tea and rocks, and eventually we got into gold and silver. And so now currency is fiat, which means it literally is. Like fiat is a fancy word that means because I said so.
It's right? Government money.
It's government money. The government prints it out through the banking system, and it's valuable because they say so. So currency is just a medium of exchange. Money is an actual store of value, right? So that's the difference. Like money you know, you have some silver you mentioned, like we would exchange that because you and I agree on it, and that does make it currency. But whether you exchanged it or not, it's going to go up in value and it's tangible, and that's what makes it money. And so that's the main difference. Currency is literally just, like you said, paper, ink, digits. There's nothing backing it.
Right. Hey, listen, guys, the whole point of this Facebook Live, just because it's going to be controversial, we wanted to talk to you guys, and I wanted to bring Jerry on because, you know, Jerry helps people build, you know, wealth through hard assets. I help you build wealth through hard assets like real estate. But, you know, a lot of people don't know, like I invest in, you know, so I got silver. I just bought $2,000 worth of silver, just came in yesterday, right? I mean, this whole box is full of silver coins. And why do I do that? You know, I'm not just in real estate. Like, I mean, yeah, I'd say 80% of my holding is in real estate, but, you know, I collect classic cars. I collect, I collect antique guns from World War II, because what is it? It's like Jerry said, it's a store of value, right? And now with all the money printing, that's going on, if all you are is in cash, which is currency, which is really just paper, ink, paper, you know, wood and paper and ink mixed up, and saying, hey, this is how I want you to exchange values to one another. If you understand history, understand what happened in the, you know, during pre-World War II, we had the collapse of the Weimar Republic. They printed money to infinity. And we are on the same road right now to printing money to infinity, right? They printed $3 trillion. They've already said they're not going to stop. They're just going to keep doing this. Now, does this mean that, you know, next week or even next year that this whole thing is going to fall apart? Maybe so. I don't know. All I know is that I'm paying attention, and I want to know what's going on. I've studied enough history to know that this will never end well. Every civilization, great, small, you know, medieval civilizations, they've all tried this experiment, and the Romans tried it, the Germans tried it, the Phoenicians have done it, and it's never worked out.
Never.
Huh, Jerry?
No one's done it to this level either. There's actually a quote. Let me find it real quick. Here we go. So the greatest lesson in history is that people don't learn the greatest lessons in history. So, like you're saying, Chris, like this has been done over and over and over. Every single currency in the history of mankind has failed, 100% of them, and the reason is the exact reason what's happening now, right? So you go back to even in the Roman Empire when they did use physical gold, they'd have a printing press, but they did have copper. So they would alloy the gold with more and more and more and more copper until it was just copper with little to no gold in it. And eventually people realized this is worthless, and the currency crashed. So
I was told they would chip it. They would sort of they did. It's called debasing your currency. They would make it less silver or less gold, and they'd add copper, and to the point where it was almost all copper, but then it was worthless, right?
yeah, and we're doing the same thing with paper right now, but the paper had no value in the first place.
Yep. So I think there's two things that, you know, you see with the U.S. government. And guys, I'm telling you all this because I want you to understand. I want to help you. I want to help myself understand this. You know, I selfishly bring on these guys to help talk about these. You know, Jerry's an expert when it comes to, you know, I know he does a lot of gold, silver. He's in, you know, he does real estate. He does a lot of different things. But I want to help myself and help you guys kind of hedge your bets in the future, because we're in. This is like a social experiment, an economic social experiment that's a little bit different than what's happened in the past. Is that we didn't have a Federal Reserve, right? The Romans didn't have a Federal Reserve. I guess they had their own sense of Federal Reserve when they would clip and print, but we have this Federal Reserve that's not federal. It's actually an independent banking cartel that pretends to have the best interests of the American people at heart, but they're actually an independent business by themselves that actually go in the back basement and just press buttons and then magically produce money out of thin air. Then they create, I think they create a bond or something from the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And then they just insert that into the economy as currency. And then we pay interest on the fake money they just pushed a button on earlier, and get back more and charge us interest on something that they never even, there's nothing behind it, right? Jared, can you maybe touch on that?
Yeah, so basically in 1913, the Federal Reserve was created. Woodrow Wilson, in my opinion, the biggest trader in American history, basically created a private banking corporation. So you had guys like J.P. Morgan, his affiliates were there, the Warburgs were in there, Rothschild, Rockefeller, like those guys all got together and said, hey, let's create this. And essentially what they did is they made an independent bank. And the way that cycle works is the United States Treasury literally borrows money from the Federal Reserve Bank. So issuing a bond is the same thing as borrowing money. It's just the Wall Street speak, right? So the Treasury borrows the money. That borrowed money now has interest. The United States government doesn't produce anything. The only way they can pay that interest is through taxation. So essentially, we all, work and we pay taxes in order to cover the interest, so that this private banking cartel can continue to make money on us. And it's sick. To me, that is, financial slavery. It should be criminal, but that's the way things are run. And when you add that extra money as well, like Chris, you were saying, they go back and just hit buttons and print out digits. It dilutes the currency. So there's a measurement called M2, which is there's M1, M2, M3, M4, which is basically counting the amount of like money, like currency deposits, etc., inside the system. The Federal Reserve just stopped reporting M2, and it basically means they don't want us to see how much currency they're sticking into circulation right now, and so it's stuff you can look at. I think Venezuela shut off their M2 right before their currency blew up. So.
Well, Venezuela is going through basically I mean, there's people starving in Venezuela from what I'm hearing. They hide a lot of that through the media in the U.S. You can't really know about it. You have to go online to find out about it. But Venezuela is a total shithole right now as far as economic output. The middle class has been wiped out. It's just basically a bunch of poor people and just a few people at the top. And
yeah.
I feel like that's kind of where we're headed, Jared. I mean,
yeah. Well, we were talking about real estate. Right, I think real estate is where it's starting right now. The home prices, we were talking about last week, is they're rising and rising and rising. I think it's at a certain point a home will become unaffordable to the average family with the average income. A home will become unaffordable. A bank won't loan the money because their debt to income ratio is going to be too high. Wages are not going to keep up, and so I think that's where things are heading. Is things will become unaffordable. And the play here is governments and central banks like to do this because it makes the average person reliant upon them, right? Then we need our stimmy checks. Then we need our universal basic income. And we need them to take care of us and subsidize the difference so that we can still live somewhere and buy groceries, because naturally we don't produce enough income to do that.
Communism, basically, hardcore socialism.
But it's dressed up, right? Like communism, they used to do it just through sheer violence, and now it's done through we freaking vote for it. It's done through our voting system and our financial system.
Well, it's trickery.
It's trickery. Yeah. People think that they're getting something good.
Yeah. And guys, you probably asked, Chris, why are you talking about this? Like, I'm kind of a somewhat controversial guy. I don't really hide things. I like to talk about. I actually, I'd rather talk about this and be aware of it. You can call me a conspiracy theorist, whatever. I really don't care. But I'm telling you right now, guys, there's something big headed down the pipeline that we, as an American, that should, as a citizen of the planet, right? If you live on planet Earth, I think there's something big coming down the pike. I think they're going to blow up all the currencies eventually, because it's not just the U.S. The U.S. is the biggest debtor nation in world history, but China, Europe, all these a lot of these other currencies all over the world are in the same situation as we are in. So this can't go along for too much longer. And I want to know, hey, this scares me. I have kids. I got 5 kids. I'm 40 years old. Luckily, hopefully I'll live another 40 years, but I'm not just thinking about myself. Like, how can my kids and how can your kids that are watching this, how can we hedge ourselves against this, right? And I know you guys follow me a lot for real estate, mobile home park investing, wholesaling, flipping, and all that. But there's a lot of different ways that, I'm not 100%, I do a ton of real estate, right? But like I was saying before, I just bought, about $2,000 worth of silver coins. I buy classic cars. I buy antique firearms from World War II, because all this is a store of value. And I know if they're going to print currency, they're going to try to do a couple things. They're going to try to inflate away our problem. They're going to try to inflate away all asset prices to make the debt look smaller. Because if they print currency, then you have more dollars chasing less products, and that's going to drive up the price, right? I mean, you can see it in real estate now. Like, we have a house we just bought, a short-term vacation rental in Orange Beach, Alabama. Even we have a beach house in Destin, a short-term vacation rental. Literally, these houses have increased in value, I think 20% in the past, literally 4 months, 3-4 months. It's ridiculous. I go on Zillow every 2 or 3 months. I go on Zillow and it's worth $50,000 more, right? It is it's like, how long can this go on, right? And you got to know about these things. You got to better protect yourself, and it's why I want to bring Jerry on, because I mean, Jerry can help you, maybe with gold, silver. I like silver. Some people like gold. I like silver. I like the other precious metals, 9mm, 40 caliber, 308, 556. Those are good precious metals to be into. I've got a ton of those. But you got to know, right, folks? You got to know what's going on, because if you don't know, you're going to get hammered. And somebody said right here, Bitcoin, right? Let's start. Bishop, this guy said Bitcoin. Let's get into Bitcoin, right? Jerry, I mean, what are your thoughts? What are your honest to God thoughts on Bitcoin? And I'll tell you my honest to God thoughts on Bitcoin, unless you want me to go first.
Yeah, I mean, so Bitcoin, I have never yet had someone explain to me why it's worth what it's worth. Right? So that's the number one problem is there's a difference between price and value. I think that's one of the things, and you'll see this with the younger generation, my generation. I'm only 28, guys. Chris is 40, I'm 28. I am one of the guys that should be owning Bitcoin that's not. And the reason is I understand the difference between price and value. So value is what it's actually worth, price is what's being paid for it. With Bitcoin, there's no separation because there's no actual value. You see the trading price on the market and you assume that's what it's worth, but at the end of the day, what is it? Right? It's a freaking Venmo account that you have extra protections on, but it doesn't actually do anything. So I don't think that Bitcoin is an asset class. I think at this point it's more of a collector's item. Right? When I look at value, I look at, for something to have value, it's got to have at least three of the following four. It's got to have track record, it's got to have earnings, it's got to have intrinsic value, and it's got to have extrinsic value. Right? So Bitcoin, you could argue it has track record. It's been around 10 years. That's some track record. It's not gold. Gold has a 6,000-year track record. It does not have any earnings. It does not have any intrinsic value, and it does have extrinsic value, meaning other people will think it's worth something. So it only checks off potentially 2 of the 4 boxes. And that's a very analytical approach for me. So that's why I'm out on it. I don't have any. I don't recommend owning it. It's not a currency. Like if I was going to buy a real estate deal from Chris, like, Chris, tell me what you would think of this. You sell me a mobile home and I pay you in Bitcoin, and then the next day, the value of the Bitcoin I transfer to you goes in half. No,
Not gonna happen.
It doesn't work, right? So those are several like logical reasons. I think there's plenty other reasons that we don't know who created it. At the end of the day, when you look at exchange and currency, like for me to have, like, this is like the epitome of fiat. Like, there's not even paper behind it. So there's nothing there but a digit. We don't know where the digit came from. There's now a blockchain, which is supposedly for privacy, but it could just as easily be used for the opposite. Now everyone can see the transaction history. So I think there's a lot of question marks, and I don't get into things I don't understand.
I'm with you there. I don't quite understand it. And I'm gonna give you my honest to God opinion, guys. You may not like this, you may unfollow me for it. I really don't give two shits. Bitcoin will go to its inherent value of 0. Its inherent value will be 0. I will put myself out there and say, listen, and it will go to 0. Let me tell you why. Do you honestly think the Federal Reserve, the biggest, baddest banks in the whole world, they pretty much control everything? Do you really, in your do you really think that they're going to let loose and let a private entity take control of a currency? No. Now, I will say this. As soon as the government gets involved with this, the private sector of crypto and Bitcoin will go to 0, because they will take control of it and destroy it and make it illegal and say, hey, you guys that are doing all this Bitcoin stuff, we can't have it anymore. We're doing our own cryptocurrency. That is the only way I see cryptocurrency happening and evolving, is that if the government takes over and they create their own Bitcoin. But all these private Bitcoins, I just don't see how they can keep going, Jerry, without the big, I'm not going to, if I'm the head of the Federal Reserve, I'm a Rothschild. You think I'm going to let go my, 300-year monopoly of the banking system over this, make-believe character? Yeah, here you go, buddies. Y'all create this Bitcoin. Here you go. You can have all the currency and we can start trading in Bitcoin. When it's not, we don't even know who he is, who created it. Supposedly it's some old man from Japan in the mountains that's got a bunch of computers creating digital money. We can't see it, touch it, or feel it. And hey, look, you may not agree with this, right? You may not agree, but look, I'd rather put my money. I just told my wife, I was, on Amazon last night. I invest in hard assets. I think, I think food. Michael, a partner of mine, a good buddy of mine, he just said something. Michael Jewell, he's a partner of mine in some businesses. I believe food is a great store of value, especially storable food. Like I have tons of storable food, right, that we save up and we invest in because it holds, especially dehydrated food, it holds its value, right? It's insurance, and I can eat it and use it. It's a survivability thing for me, and it will hold its value. But Michael says we aren't far from food shortage. If you look at some of the largest meat companies have stopped production of lines of meat because there aren't enough people to produce it. Take it another step, not even enough drivers to ship it. That's a good point, right? So, with that said, I want to be in something I can feel, see, and touch, right? And I mean, gold, silver, real estate, antique. I want something that's rare and valuable. I love classic cars. I got an old 72 Chevelle. I got an old 1986 CJ7. Last year, they made a Laredo edition. You can't reproduce this, right? It's rare and valuable, just like gold and silver. There's only so much gold and silver. There's only so much real estate. There's only so much mobile home park investing, apartments, short-term vacation. I love short-term vacation rentals on the beach. You cannot replace that. They only made so much beachfront property. So you guys are all caught up in this Bitcoin mania. Now you say I may get a lot of hate for this, dude. I'm not. You couldn't buy me out in one of my mobile home parks in Bitcoin. I don't care that it went to 50,000 because tomorrow it might be at 25,000. It's too speculative, guys. If you, I feel like it's gambling, right?
Yeah.
So Jerry, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. It is speculation. Speculation means I buy something. I hope it goes up in price. I hope that I can sell it, and I hope that I can sell it for more than I paid. And so with speculation, that is not investing. It literally is gambling. It's you might as well go to Vegas, right? So, and it's again, like you look at it's the younger crowd. I don't see a lot of people that are 40, 50, 60 years old that are savvy investors that have actually won some money and done some deals and actually success that are doing Bitcoin and crypto. It's the guys that are, fresh out of college, didn't go to college, haven't.
It's the younger crowd. The younger crowd is sold on Bitcoin, Jerry. You notice that?
And the reason why, none of them will come right out and say this, but they all hope they're going to become billionaires. They think it's a shortcut. And no one will admit that because then the game is out and you're like, oh, okay, it's a scratch ticket. It's a lottery ticket. But every single one of them thinks they're the first and that they're part of the new wave and that this entire wave of currency is going to take over the world. We probably will be on blockchain, but like you said, to think that the Federal Reserve banking system, which is not just the United States, there's a central bank in literally every single sophisticated.
Yeah, and you got the IMF too.
Yeah,
right? Yep.
Not only that, you've got in Basel, Switzerland, they've got the Bank of Central Banks. So Germany, World War II happens, right? And so Germany's bank had to pay war reparations, and so they actually formed the Bank for International Settlements, which is in Switzerland, and it was the chairman of the Weimar Republican Bank, and then the Bank of England, and they partnered together and created the Bank for International Settlements, and that's again an unregulated private entity, private corporation. You could go ahead and say they're Nazis, like it's it's the same crew, right? And so they run and regulate all of the central banks in all of the countries. So when you look at this, like to think that these guys, they're responsible for every war that's ever happened, any famine that's ever happened, poverty, racism, everything that we see.
They fund both sides.
They fund both sides of it all. So to think
they fund the media,
gonna be like, there's gonna be like, oh, you got me. I didn't think you guys were gonna come out with a new technology. Like I posted yesterday. At the end of the day, these are people that if you oppose them, you end up at gunpoint or in a cage. Like it's not something where they're just gonna be like, oh, you bested me through creativity. They enforce.
Well, you just I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't want to forget, Jerry. You just said something very important. They approach you at gunpoint. Look what happened, and it was at Lebanon or Libya with Omar Gaddafi. He came out with he said, "Hey, we're going to switch over. We're not doing this currency thing no more. We're going to get on the gold backed dinar, they call it." And he was going to take all of Africa, and he's going to put them on a gold backed central currency backed by gold called it dinar. And what happened next? The U.S. went in there, bombed him, murdered him, and they bragged about it. Hillary Clinton bragged about it. Said, "Yeah," he goes. She said, something about killing him, and but they took him out. They took him out, saying that he was some type of terrorist, and they installed a new central bank, right?
Yeah.
You know anything about that?
Yeah. And if you look at right now, it's happening with Russia. 2 months ago, and I texted you, Chris, when this came out 2 months ago or so. Putin comes out and makes a public statement. They paid off their very last central bank owned debt, and he said, it was a quote: "We're done with the Rothschild banking dynasty." He said, "We're done with it." Now, if you look at the news today, right now, we're saying Russia is a terrorist threat, that we might have to go to war with
Yeah.
them. Guys, these are countries and rulers. So imagine when it's Jimmy, who's 24 years old in his mom's basement, who thinks that he's going to get away with a black market Bitcoin transaction, and they freaking just murdered Gaddafi and Putin. Like, Jimmy's no problem. So
And that's the thing. Like, they murdered Gaddafi because he was trying to create his own gold-backed currency, backed by actual hard asset gold, and he's going to create all of Africa under this, and this would be a currency backed by something tangible. Dude, they went in there and bombed Libya. I think it was Libya, and they murdered him and all his family, and they installed a new government with a Rothschild central bank.
Yeah.
So you have to understand who rules the world, guys. And I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this so you understand who's the players, how to play the game, because this is a chess game, right? And honestly, I think that they're tricking a lot of us, because a lot of this is trickery. A lot of this is bait and switch. They're getting all these people to run up Bitcoin, and they're going to crash the system. But they're going to trick a lot of people, and they've been doing this for centuries, right? It's called false flag operations, or bait and switch and manipulation of currencies. You got to know what's going on. You got to stay. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not a gold bug, to be honest with you. I honestly, I like real estate. I do like to hold some silver. I think silver is at it's at half of what it was. It never hit its all-time high, right? I think silver is really, really depressed, and it's and I don't hold a lot of silver. I may hold shit. I just told my wife and Jerry, I'm starting to buy silver every month because I think it's discounted right now. I think gold's a little overpriced, but I still think it has room to go up. I'm still a massive bull on affordable housing, real estate, mobile home parks, things that are affordable, right? So, but if you understand this and you listen to guys like Jerry and me, it gives you a different perspective. Maybe you have a bunch of money in Bitcoin, and maybe you have to make us wrong in order to make you right, because you're too heavily invested and emotionally involved, because you got maybe $20,000-$30,000 that you put in Bitcoin. Now it's worth, $200,000 or $300,000, and you feel like you're validated and you're right. But tomorrow you could lose all that. I can't lose all my real estate in a day, but you could lose probably half your wealth in Bitcoin in a day or two, maybe more. Your thoughts on that, Jared?
Yeah, I would add one thing to that, Chris. Not only could you lose it in one day, let's say you don't, you can't reproduce it. You cannot go do it again. Let's say Bitcoin hits its max, its market cap. It's not going to be doubling over and over forever. It's going to at some point either crash or hit max capacity. And when it hits max capacity, it's going to be the same as any other asset class. And so with what Chris is saying, if I'm buying affordable housing, if I'm buying mobile homes, if I'm buying real estate, if I'm buying businesses, that's a repeatable action, and it will never run out. Inventory may, but the actual behavior and action of doing it will never run out. Versus with Bitcoin, it's I call it victim investing. When I buy something and it's hope, and I'm hoping that it all happens to me, that means I can't happen to it, which means I can't go repeat it again. It's very circumstantial, and it's based on the stars aligning and everything working out correctly. Versus like a mobile home deal, you take a guy like Chris, you could rob him blind, take all his money, put him back on the street. Next year, he's probably investing in 6 or 7 mobile homes again because he knows how to. So that's what I would add to it. And it also comes down to, like, we have to understand the difference between currency, money, and assets, right? We talked about currency and money. We didn't talk yet about assets, right? So assets are income producing, and they're things that generate more currency. And that currency could be dollars, it could be Bitcoin, it could be crypto, it could be dehydrated food, it could be protection. So if everything does go down to shit, and Chris has how many tenants do you think you have if you had to ballpark it?
Around 350.
That all need a place to stay. that all owe Chris rent every month. And if the dollar goes to shit, now they owe Chris favors. Chris has 350 people that are willing to do what he needs them to do to have the roof over their head next month. So there's a lot more to it than just buy something, hope it goes up in value, hope that it doesn't crash. Like there's a lot of behavior and intelligence that goes into building real wealth.
Well, you just said it's a store of value, right? Like, if you buy land, a yield of land could be crops. It could be, harvesting of deer, cows, meat, beef, hogs. If you own maybe property with a riverbed or maybe a stream, the product could be water. Like I want tangible assets. So for me, Bitcoin, I just can't make sense of it, right? I've actually tried to look at because I even see pictures of people they have these Bitcoin mining. I had a buddy of mine who's actually in real estate. He freaking crushes in real estate. He's doing Bitcoin mining. Show me a picture of this big wall of wires and all kind of computer systems trying to mine for Bitcoin. I didn't quite understand all that. And it's kind of why I stay away from it. But listen, if I am mining for something that I don't even know who made it, I don't know where it came from, and I don't know who owns it, I'm confused.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just not that bright because I'm from South Louisiana. I don't know. It's a possibility, like my wife said. But I know when I buy that mobile home park and I buy a trailer for $5,000 that's worth, maybe $20,000. I know I can get $750, $800 a month in rent or more. I can see, feel, and touch that. And I know historically speaking that will go up over time. The rents will go up. They're talking about increasing the minimum wage, right? And if they increase the minimum wage, I'm happy, right? Because guess what? My rents are going up because people that are that's a trick too, by the way, because they think, well, yeah, we're all going to get raises. No, everybody's just going to pass that along to the consumer. Yeah. Everybody's going to go up on their prices. So, you're making $15 an hour now. Okay. So that gallon of milk that was $4 will now be $7.25. Mm-hmm. They just passed the buck to the consumer. So even though you're making more, if you're making 10, now you're making 15 because you're making good minimum wage, you're just going to pay more for goods and services because they're just going to pass them along to the consumer.
Yeah.
So Jerry, what can they do to we've been talking about this. What can they do? And this is when I talk, well, let me add, somebody talks about blockchain real quick. I do think blockchain has some validity. I think that the technology behind blockchain is definitely going to come, but crypto, like I said, dude, I'm not sold on that. But Jerry, what can we talk about to help these guys diversify, into hard assets to help them? What's some good advice for them that maybe they don't even make a whole lot of money? They have a W-2 job.
Yeah.
What would you tell a guy that's just getting started?
Yeah, I mean, if you're just getting started, and a lot of people are, right? You look at statistics, I think 60% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved. 80% are paycheck to paycheck. So most people are in the just getting started boat. The first thing that I would say is you need to get on a forced savings plan. I know there's a lot of talk savers are losers and you shouldn't save money. That's all marketing. At the end of the day, when Chris does a mobile home deal, when I do gold, it's because we earned income, saved it, and then we put it into assets. So saving is a function, and you don't keep it there. You don't leave it in the currency. Like we said, the currency goes down in value, but I think the best thing someone can do is get on a forced savings plan so that it happens automatically, and then start learning about finances, start learning about assets, start learning about real estate, start learning about gold and silver, and realize too, it's I don't want to say it's a long-term play, but it's not something that you're going to learn and then tomorrow you're going to be wealthy. You're going to have to do, let's say you do a mobile home deal and you're making $1,000 a month in cash flow. It's going to take you, several months to recuperate what you put into that deal in the first place. And so unless you plan on sitting there and waiting, you need to go be able to reproduce the income, save again, and invest in another one and compound and snowball that forward. So if you're just starting out, my big three are earn income every day. Do something to produce. Earning is a verb, not a noun, right? So we're going to do something to produce. Learn about money, whether that's, an article, spending 10 minutes. We have a program called Wealth Dynamics University. You can literally go on there and watch segments and quiz out on different things on finances. And then, look at your transactions and pay attention to where your money goes and what happens when you send it there, right? Because the goal is, if I'm going to trade time for money, I'm not going to put that money and currency into things that don't get me more free. So when I spend or I invest, I'm looking for something that's got return on investment. And I can only know that if I understand where it's going, and the cause and effect of what happens when it goes there.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And look, it's whatever you feel like. Invest in what you know. Warren Buffett. I say a lot of guys like Warren Buffett. I love Jim Rogers. I listen to a lot of those guys. They make a lot of sense. Invest in what you know, right? And understand. I understand and I know and I like real estate, right? That's why like 80% of my wealth is in real estate, right? Like I said, I still invest in some of this stuff, right? This is some silver coins. I like silver because, for one, it's a commodity. It can be used in the marketplace along with all this, new green deal that they're doing with all this green energy. Silver is one of the biggest, components, right? So I think it's at a discount right now. That's why I'm buying up silver. Will I buy millions of dollars worth of silver? No. I think we bought like $2,000 worth of silver. I might buy $2,000 a month in silver just to have as a hedge, right? And it's basically insurance, right? I don't buy it because I really don't like gold and silver that much. It doesn't cash flow. It's insurance. It's a hedge against inflation. It's a store of value, right? That's all it is for me. Now, Ben says, if you don't think there is some truth in SYFY movies of the further, then your line of sight is off. Digital currency will happen. If anything, the government would take it over, but I just don't see that happening. No, you're absolutely right. Listen, digital currency will be here. They probably will get rid of all paper currency. I totally agree. Digital currency is here. But when the government says that you crypto guys are a little out of control and you have a little too much power, they will stop the system and take it over and make it illegal and do it themselves. They did it with gold. They did it with gold back in, I forget, it was 1933. They banned which one?
The 1933 through 71.
Yeah, they banned gold. It was illegal to hold gold, guys. It was illegal, right? And they could do this with Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Listen, what makes you think you're so learned and so powerful because you bought $10,000 worth of Bitcoin and now it's worth maybe it's worth $100,000? All they have to do with a stroke of a pen is say, hey, this stuff's illegal. And guess what? You got to comply with it. They have all the guns. They have all the force. They can force anything they want. They can tell you how to do it, when to do it. You can't be that naive, and you have to play this stuff smart, because at the end of the day, guys, we will see some volatile times. Look, we live in exciting times. Like, I'm actually excited. I get excited about what's going on because I think there's gonna be a lot of opportunity, right? I think a lot of people are gonna get hurt because they're being manipulated and tricked. But as long as you stay in stuff that's real, it's needed and wanted. Affordable housing is needed and wanted. Food is needed and wanted. Gold and silver is still needed and wanted. Businesses, service businesses. I think service businesses, if you're a young entrepreneur, you need to start with a service business. That's how I got started. I started an oil change business and a car wash business on the back of my truck when I was 22 years old, and scaled it into a $100,000 a year business at 22 years old, guys. Service. And it doesn't cost a whole lot of money to start a service business, but that'll always be what? Needed and wanted, right? Your Bitcoin is all speculation. You think you're like the next, Elon Musk, like you're going to get rich and you're smarter than the government. Listen, guys, it's not.
Elon doesn't know shit.
No, it's not going to happen, right?
Stocks. Yeah.
So we'll take some questions. We got quite a few people on here. We got 48 people on here live. From what I understand is decentralized currency. If the masses use Bitcoin as an acceptable currency, nobody can stop them, right? We just talked about that. That's not true.
Let's look at this real quick. In the last 12 months, the same group that we're talking about that would stop Bitcoin literally shut down the entire world. We didn't go.
Okay, you just said something very pertinent. Listen what the man just said for the people in the back. You think you're so learned because you got Bitcoin, you're smarter than everybody. The people that run and rule the world just stopped the whole world for a whole year. And some parts of the world and country like Canada, the Communist Republic of California and New York are still shut down, folks, and you can't even do nothing about it. What makes you think you're so smart you're going to have a digital currency that outwits everybody and keeps inflating to $1 million a thin air coin or whatever y'all call it? You ain't that smart, folks. Listen to this man, Jerry Fetta.
Yes, I mean, that's the bottom line, is if they want to shut it down, they will. Right now, even, you can own it. For you to transact with it, when you sell it, it's a capital gain. If you go buy groceries with Bitcoin and you make money on the sale of the Bitcoin transacting with the groceries, that's a capital gain. That's taxable, right? The transactions are expensive. If you look at transaction fees, it's not cheaper right now to use Bitcoin. So even if the government didn't ban it and just banks wanted to, all they'd have to do on their payment processors and wallets is say, hey, the fees are so high that it's expensive and it's taxable. Nobody's going to want to sell it. It's no longer a currency. Currency flows. So if it doesn't flow, it's not a currency, right? And then what Chris is saying, they take it a step further and they say, hey, yeah, this competes with our digital central bank digital currency, which they're currently developing. It'll probably be out later this year, early next year. Then it does become illegal. And at that point, anything other than that currency is considered counterfeiting. If you counterfeit, you go to prison. Back in the day when they tried to get the English people off of their gold backed currency, they literally said, hey, we're using fiat now, and if you use something else, it's counterfeiting, and the punishment for counterfeiting is death. Right now, we're the sheeple. Like, everyone's about to take the vaccine. They're wearing masks everywhere. You really think people are going to face up against death and be like, oh, yeah, I'll still use Bitcoin? No.
Listen, so guys, if you're a young 25-year-old, maybe you got a little change, maybe you got a little jingle in your pocket. Maybe you had $10,000, you invested in Bitcoin. Now it's worth 150. Awesome. Good for you. Fantastic. That's great news. Take your wins while you can. But sell out, get out of it, cash it into, some cash, and go learn an asset class that will be here tomorrow for sure. Mm-hmm. If we have usually when there's tumultuous times, I think I pronounced that right. I'm from South Louisiana. We have a hard time pronouncing words sometimes, but usually when there's rough times in the economy, historically speaking, there's a lot of wars, right? A war breaks out. They create wars to cover for fiscally bad planning, bad sound investment, bad money, and they create these wars. Do you really think a digital currency can't feel, see, and touch is going to withstand? And I'm not saying that we're going to have war. I'm not hoping that. That's terrible, right? I'm actually worried. Like I from studying history, we're due for another great war. That's not me hoping or like I'm not some warmonger. I worry that we may have some type of economic calamity followed by some type of military calamity, followed by great famine, because you look at what happens with wars. A lot more people die of starvation than a bullet during war. If you look at that, more people died in World War II of starvation, lack of hunger than bullets, because supply lines shut down, right? Consumer confidence falls back. Supply, you can't get food to people. So for me, that scares me. I got babies. I got 5 kids. So I'm investing in things that I food, water, clothing, shelter, the precious metals, gold, or not gold, that's silver, and 9mm, all the other hard assets, and real estate, right? I'm not saying, look, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I will stand up and say, hey, I'm wrong, Jerry. Hey guys, who are watching this, I'm wrong. I was totally wrong on Bitcoin. Bitcoin will go to its inherent value of 0 when this thing starts getting out of control. I'm not saying we won't have Bitcoin. We probably will have some type of Bitcoin / digital currency, but it will be a government controlled system where you have no say so in it. So I'm just here to warn you guys. It's been on my mind for a while. Me and Jerry have been talking about this for probably a year now, back and forth. And I wanted to bring Jerry on to kind of help you guys understand, because he has a perspective in this, and he's been doing this for a while. But Jerry, what do you think? If you're 25, 24, 22 years old, you're just making your way in the world, you're making, maybe you're making 80 to 100 grand a year. What's a good plan of action to get these guys started?
Yeah, get into sales. Like you said, sales and service. Invest in yourself. If stuff goes down and it crashes, there's gonna be a disparity, and it's gonna be the people that own hard assets, that own real estate, they own food, they own farms. There's no question why Bill Gates is the #1 owner of farmland right now. Like, that should tell you something. So that's gonna be a group that has an advantage, and then the other group is gonna be the group that can go add value to others and produce. Right. So if I'm young, and I am relatively young still, I'm learning about communication. I'm learning about sales. I'm learning about human behavior. I'm learning about how the mind works. I'm learning about economics, all of that stuff, because that's something that I can actually take with me. Because if I have, 10, 15, 20 grand right now to my name, and the economy tanks, like, that 10, 15, 20 grand might be worth nothing, and I might still have to go start over. And I need to be totally willing to do that. But if I can do that with these skill sets I'm mentioning, I can get there much faster, right? So If it's me, like I'm gonna make sure that I've got, you know, that skill set down. I'm gonna make sure that I own some hard assets. I'm gonna make sure that I
So knowledge, right? I mean, knowledge would be your number one thing as a younger. If you don't have no money, I mean, knowledge would probably be the best thing to invest in.
totally, yeah, knowledge and skill sets.
Would you say? Hold on, hold on. Would you say? Would you say that skills get the
Skill,
deals? Are you trying to say
skills
that, Jerry?
skills do get the deals.
Awesome. So now Eric says it's not just the young crowd. Elon Musk put 1.9 billion into it. Also, a few other companies have done it. Listen. I'm not saying I'm 100% right. I'm here to give you my opinion. You could agree, disagree, unfollow me. I'm just telling you how I feel and how Jerry feels. Elon Musk may be
What
right, but guess what? You got Warren Buffett. You got people like Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger laughs. He calls it rat poison. Charlie Munger calls cryptocurrency rat poison. He's worth. Go ahead.
Elon, I want everyone to understand, Elon did not put 1.9 billion of his own money into it. He put 1.9 billion dollars of his shareholders' money into it. It's on the balance sheet of Tesla. That's a freaking Ponzi scheme, if you ask me. I raise money from you to invest in my company, and then I put that money that you invest in my company into Bitcoin. Like if Chris did that on a deal, like Chris, I give you money for a mobile home, and then I find out that instead of putting it in a mobile home, you bought Bitcoin, Chris would probably get fined and go to prison for it. So you got to look at like when these big guys do it, they're not putting their own money into it. And if they are, like for example, Kevin O'Leary, he was against it, against it, against it. All of a sudden, Mr. Wonderful's for it. That's because now he makes money on the mining side. So you have to understand, like, why are these people saying there,
Who
and
benefits?
who benefits, and where did they get the money from in the first place?
There you go. Look, I'm not saying I'm right or Jerry's wrong or Jerry's right. I'm just giving you. I do these shows. You know, I bring people, give you perspective, raise your awareness about things. Right? I'm not always right. Neither is Jerry. I could be totally wrong, but I could also be totally right. But if I'm a betting man, I'm betting on hard assets, right, guys? So I do think digital currency is the wave of the future, but I just don't see it turning into what a lot of you guys are hoping it's going to turn into. The young crowd does not have enough cash to buy real hard assets like real estate. They're still paying off the worthless college degrees. That's a great point, James. That's a great point. That's so true. And the way you can do that, I think there's going to be a big shift. I think, the online space of information has gotten huge because I think a lot of people realize that the college degree model is definitely an archaic model. Mm-hmm. I know people have spent $100,000 on an education to get out of school to make 50 grand a year, and they got to pay a house note, mortgage, they have a baby, and they're living paycheck to paycheck. They're broke, and literally you can go buy a program on how to invest in real estate like mine for $5 grand or less and become a millionaire, right? And so the college degree, I agree with that. The college degree is going to be worthless. Now you say, well, they don't have enough money to invest in hard assets. Listen, you can raise private money. If you learn a skill set, you can raise money. The last mobile home park window, two parks ago I bought, I raised $275,000 to buy a $1.26 million mobile home park, right? Because I have a really good skill set. So get really, really good at something that's tangible, that's a tradable service. Follow a guy like Jerry, work Wealth Dynamic, and figure out, how you get started. Come to my program, chrisrood.com, learn how to wholesale and flip. That's a total, skill set on how to exchange value for equity and property, which will be a freaking phenomenal business in the downturn. We're crushing. Me and Big Mama Rood. Big Mama Rood, say hello. They can't see you. Big Mama Rood's got she's got 7-8 flips going just in Lafayette between, we're flipping houses in Florida. I mean, we've got 26 deals going right now. Guess what? If the market goes down and shifts, every one of those properties I'm into for 40, 50, 60 cents on the dollar, historically speaking, real estate has only went down 15% nationwide, right? So I feel like I have a hedge, right? And I'm invested into, hard assets. So mobile home parks aren't going nowhere. Most of our portfolios in mobile home park investing. People still need a place to live. That 700 to 1,000 range. I feel like I'm trying to play. So I'm not trying to become that billionaire on a quick tip, right, Jerry? And I think a lot of these guys trying to get rich quick scheme. They want that cool quick tip where they can figure out how can I go from 100,000-aire to billionaire overnight and look like I'm a smart guy.
Yeah. Well, I think you hit it on the head. Something ties in on this. I think that the guys that are my age and younger, because the college degree didn't work out, I think that that's what they're trying to fill the gap with is crypto. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes. That's a great point, Jerry. That is say that again for the people in the back, Jerry. Say that again. Now, that's a great point.
Yeah, the guys that are my age, 20, 22, 24, 26, we spent 5-6 figures on college and it didn't work. And so this is the Hail Mary, right? Like we're relying on crypto because we think this might be the thing. And it's really because of lack of a better solution. Like for me, I didn't go to college. I learned sales. I learned skill sets. So I didn't have but because of that, I can produce income. I can buy gold and silver. I can buy real estate. And so I have a solution. But had I spent 50, 60 grand on college, I've still got the student loan. I'm working at freaking AT&T for $40,000 a year. Nothing to do with my degree field. I'm still trying to figure out how do I make life work because the thing I thought would happen didn't happen. And crypto looks like it might be the way out.
That's exactly, dude. I love that point, Jerry. I think Jerry just hit the nail on the head right there. Right, they're filling a void for a lack of, there were success that they were hoping to get because dude, they sold us a bill of goods. I mean, even us, they sold me a bill of goods. Me and my wife both have college degrees, right? I did not use it. Not one.
Why do we have college degrees? Because our parents insisted and they paid for it. Otherwise, if we had to pay for it,
I wouldn't have went. I mean, I was lucky enough my parents, paid for it and helped me out. I know a lot of people are not as fortunate to do that, but honestly, guys, maybe you're watching this, you're not as fortunate and you don't have parents that can afford that. Dude, you're better off learning, like what Jerry said, a trade, like a skill set, a plumber. And if I could do it all over again, AC for repair. I pay so much money to AC guys every month for all my rental properties. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the wrong business. I need to get into AC repair, right? So like there's so many opportunities. Like my kids are not going to be shown how to go to college. If they're specializing, yes, they're going to be an attorney, a doctor, an engineer, a nurse, things that are specialized. But all these people with liberal arts, master's degrees, fraud, sexual behavior, study of, how the giraffes, mating season is. I mean, dude, get out of your own way. Like you're being tricked. Listen, if it's on the media and they're telling you what to do, that means you need to do the exact opposite, right? Trust me. All you have to do is listen. Whatever the media says, do the exact opposite, and you'll be good, right? You'll literally be good. So, go ahead, Jared.
That's literally how I live. If a politician says it, and if the media says it, I do the opposite.
I just do the opposite. Yep. They say, hey, real estate's about to have a complete crash. Okay, let's go buy some more real estate.
Yeah.
Or it's insane. I mean, you listen to the media, guys. You gotta realize that the media is ran by the banks, like we talked about earlier. It's a big club, and you ain't a part of it. Like George, that comedian George, what's his name?
What's his name? Yeah, I know.
He says it's a big club, guys, and you ain't in it, right? And it's the banks, it's the major corporations, it's the media. They all in cahoots together. They all literally hang out and laugh at us. They trick us into doing stupid things. They make us. They scare us. It's merchants of chaos, right? They try to scare us, right, into doing things to benefit them. It's not for your benefit, guys, right? So, and hell, I mean, shit. If I get too much of a big audience talking about this, I may you're getting a drowning accident tomorrow. Have a golfing accident because that's how they roll, right? There's a reason why some of these presidents got shot, the heads blown off. Ronald Reagan, John F. Kennedy. Some of these you say the wrong things, right? And things get crazy. But we'll take some more questions. We're gonna wrap it up. We only got about 5 minutes left. All markets have cycles. All markets in their infancy are volatile. In 2007, the market cap for crypto was 850 billion. The market is over 5 trillion now. It's not just currencies. It's the technology. I agree about the technology, by the way, Jason. I think it's great technology. Entire financial system being redesigned on blockchain. You can borrow against crypto. You can trade crypto on decentralized exchange. You can earn interest on crypto. You don't lose if you buy a right and set a stop loss. Okay.
So let me say something on that real quick. Market capitalization literally has no significance. It's market capitalization means all of the units of something times the price of the units. like that doesn't indicate anything. It's just it is a fact. Yeah, there's market capitalization, but all that means is if you take everything in that market that exists times the price of all the things in that market, that's what the market cap is. It doesn't have any sort of significance into what's happening with the asset class. It just means prices went up or prices went down. So, and I hit that because I see that a lot with crypto, like the market cap. It doesn't actually mean anything. And that's not how you measure asset classes. It's not how you pick deals. It's just a nothing.
Well, how do you create a market cap on something that's made up too out of thin air, and they created out of they're mining for it, which I don't know. Do you understand that, Jerry, how they mine for it?
It's an accounting process. So when a Bitcoin transaction happens, they use the mining to basically validate the transaction. So there's different miners, which are kind of like digital accountants. They all compete in order to validate the blockchain code in the transaction. And then when one of them gets it done the quickest, they're awarded a certain amount of Bitcoin. So it's kind of like bookkeeping, like digital bookkeeping, if you want to really simplify it. But the market cap for Bitcoin would just be the amount of Bitcoins available times the price of each one of them. It doesn't actually mean anything.
Gotcha. What are your thoughts on platforms that allow you to invest in crypto and play it like a stock without ever actually owning it? I mean, that's basically day trading. Would you say that?
It's day trading and derivatives, right? No different than gold and silver. If it's not my coins, I don't own it. So I don't buy ETFs. I don't buy paper that says I own gold. If I want to own gold, I'm going to freaking buy a brick of gold. So I don't agree with crypto, but I think if I was going to do crypto, I would just straight up buy it, not go on like a Robinhood platform or, use if you don't own the private keys, you don't own the Bitcoin. Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that, Kenneth. Cyberspace.
Enough said.
So, yeah. That's right. You just need to get started on something, guys. Find something that's a tangible asset that I would learn a service, learn a trade. Well, we're not going to talk about subject to deals right now. Let's see. Own hard cash flowing assets. Yes,
Bingo.
sir. That's the key. I mean, that is just tried and true. And stop trying to get rich quick, guys. Like, that's the problem with a lot of you trying to get rich quick. Like anything that's rare and valuable is hard to obtain. That's why it's rare and valuable. There's a reverse correlation of being hard and valuable and being hard to obtain. So you want to do the things that are really hard so that it takes a long time to achieve it, because therefore it becomes what? Rare and valuable, and you own it because it was hard to obtain. It's hard to buy a mobile home park for pennies on the dollar and negotiate that and rehab it and get it stabilized. But once you have it and it's achieved, it's rare and valuable, and you've created value because it's hard. Most people don't want to do the hard work, guys. Listen, if you ain't smart, if you're like me, you're just not that bright, from South Louisiana, you wear white rubber boots, eat crawfish etouffee, talk funny. You got to rely on hard work, right? Because I'm not that bright, but what I do is I work really, really hard, and I work so hard that I can acquire things that most people can't get because they think they're so smart that they can get stuff without working hard. And that's what you Bitcoin guys, think you're so smart. Listen, if you're not that bright, you don't have a skill set, let your biggest skill set be your work ethic, right? Have an insane work ethic, right? So I want to start a truck company. Do you think it's worth time, effort, and money? You said about a service company. What's your thoughts? Hey, trucking is, I know people make a lot of money in trucking. It's going to have its own barriers, though. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough to do, just like anything you're dealing with people. Jerry, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think the biggest barrier is getting the truck, right? So there's guys that own trucks. They'll let you drive and sub. You might not have to start your own business if you can get in with somebody else, build up some capital, get your own truck. Right now, I would stay away from financing. Like if it's not going to pay for itself as in a cash flowing asset, I'm not financing a car right now. I'm not financing a student loan. If shit crashes and you've got loans on a truck and then the routes halt, you don't want to be stuck carrying that note. So I think it can be a great play. I just think go about it the right way, get into it the right way.
Right. But how Hackman into technet 3? Okay, we'll skip that one. The Fed is not making money.
An intelligent quality comment, Chris.
Wait, you want to go on that one?
No.
Okay. All right. If Fed is not making money off of crypto, we're not. Okay. You just hit the nail on the head, James. It's only a matter of time. Listen, if the Federal Reserve can't benefit off of this, they're not going to give up their monopoly, guys.
Yeah.
Just like
Turkey
marijuana.
on it.
Who?
Turkey. The entire country of Turkey just outlawed Bitcoin.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Listen to that, guys. And Jerry just said the entire. I didn't. So it's just going to be a monopoly effect after that, right? I mean, if one I know in Texas, Bitcoin is illegal in Texas.
Is it?
To trade it or something? I think to trade Bitcoin in Texas is illegal. Well, a buddy of mine, Michael, it's a professional trader. He was telling me that he said that you can't trade or own or something. I don't know, something about you. It's illegal. Something's illegal about Bitcoin in Texas. Trading. I think trading it.
There's an article that just came out today, and I'll text it to you if I can find it again, Chris. But basically, the chairman of the IRS came out and he said that there's a mass amount of tax fraud happening, and he said that the majority of it's happening through cryptocurrency, which probably isn't even true.
But probably not true, but that's their excuse.
Stories coming out, yeah.
Yep, that's their excuse. They'll make up something, and they'll have the media push it, and then they'll. It's problem reaction solution, right? They call it a false flag operation. The governments around the world have been doing it. They create a problem, they offer a solution, and or the problem reaction. They create a problem, they create a reaction to that problem, and they offer a solution. And that's what they're going to say about crypto. They'll make up a reason why nobody can have it because it's too much tax fraud, and it may not even be true, like Jerry said.
Yeah, and the solution usually is something that nobody ever would have went for before.
Yep, that's exactly right. Let's see. The Office of Controller of Currency has approved settlement digital state recently. Okay, this dude keeps on posting the same thing. Let's see. Let's try some more. Almost done to the bottom. Can you talk more about the elites that dominate and control the world? Oh man, that's a whole nother lie.
If we do that one after you're done,
just
go home and cry.
Yeah. You'll go home and you'll literally get depressed but it's like, guys, listen, you live in the matrix, right? You live in the matrix and you don't even know it. And what I'm trying to do in these lives is understand that if you know you live in the matrix and you understand the matrix, then you can play a better game inside the matrix, right? Because we all live in the matrix, right? Jerry, would you agree with that?
Yeah, and for Luis, it's a big read, but if you go read The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin,
yes,
that book will tell you everything you need to know.
Yep. Atlas Shrugged is another good one. There's a few other good books too. I think the attraction behind Bitcoin is limited supply. There isn't an infinite number of coins. I don't think crypto is black and white. The internet is a powerful tool. I agree with that. Let's see. Skill up. That's what it's about, Warren. That's the only tangible asset you can depend on is the skill up and your skill sets, building up of knowledge, right? Right. Let's see. Elon Musk can afford to lose billions. We can't afford to lose any money. That's right.
Yeah, Elon, even if it was his own money, that 1.09 billion is literally 1% of his net worth. So if we're going to use Elon as the model, then yes, everyone is allowed to own 1% of their net worth in Bitcoin. Go for it.
Yep, that's exactly right. Almost to the bottom. Kings invest dividends to build long-term stream of income. I agree with that. Stay close to the wholesalers. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, learn how to buy discounted properties through wholesalers, right? Lots of facts being spoken. Yep. Don't listen to the media, dude. If you listen to the media, you got problems, folks. You shouldn't probably follow me. And you're Carlin. That's Carlin. Thank you, Mike.
That's my boy.
Yeah, Mike's my boy too. Yeah, Mike helped me write my book. If you need a book written, reach out to Mike Follett. He'll help you with that. George Carlin. There we go. Let's see.
I wish that guy was alive right now, George Carlin.
Dude, he was beyond his time. I mean, he was talking about this stuff 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Could you imagine though what his stand-up would be like today? So much material.
He'd be talking about Bitcoin.
He'd be talking about Bitcoin. He would.
Let's see. Create your own central bank and borrow from it to buy real estate. Absolutely. And Brad, that's exactly what I'm doing. Like, I don't want to hold a bunch of currency. I do want to hold some currency. I mean, I don't think you should say, well, some people say cash is trash. I mean, that I don't like. That's an absolute statement, right? I don't want to have, I want to hold some cash. Like, I mean, if I can hold 20-30% of my assets in cash, maybe 10% in some precious metals like silver or gold, I would definitely want, at least 70-80% of my assets in real estate or other service businesses, because I know if I have some, because during deflation, if we have deflation, which I don't think we have deflation, we're probably going to have massive hyperinflation, inflation, which would be good for real estate, bad for people holding cash. But if we have deflation, if I got a 20% cash position on my net worth, dude, that cash position becomes highly leveraged, because it's increasing in value, because I can buy assets for pennies on the dollar because of deflation. So you can't predict the future 100%. So if you have a piece, it's a chess game. If you have a piece to handle every bit and you're covering all your bases and you're not absolute in one thing, I think that's the best way to go, guys. And I think you shouldn't be 100% in gold and silver, 100% in real estate, 100% in businesses, 100% in cash. You should be spread out and just be smart about it, right? How do you feel about that, Jerry?
I think that's true. Now, I think it happens in phases, and you probably did this similarly, where when you start, you're gonna be 100% in one thing, and then once you max out on that level, then you'll add another thing, because it's the single focus that makes you win in that area. And the result of that is collectively, yeah, you're gonna have 5, 6, 7, 8 areas spread out. But I think a mistake that people make is they hear that and they're broke, and then they start 7 things all at the same time, and then they do poorly at all of them. So go all in on one of them, max that out, get to the next one, add that in. And it's not really diversifying even. I wouldn't even call it that. It's just the natural progression of adding in more layers.
Well, you just said a good point, Jerry. It's true, because when I'm 40 years old. When I started at 22, I had no cash. I had no assets. All I had was a work ethic and a skill set to develop. And I think the foundation, the baseline, is to learn the skill set when you have no money, to build money in exchange for your skill set. That's a great point. I'm glad Jerry brought that up. That's such an intelligent way to say it, because I'm in a different phase of life. Like, I've built, we have a $22.5 million portfolio. We have a really good cash flowing business that, does a lot of cash, in our wholesaling and flipping business. Our mobile home park spit out a lot of cash every month. So, I mean, I'm in a different phase of life. Yeah, I think, like Jerry said, you grow into different phases as you build up cash and assets. I think then you have to diversify. But when you just get started, like Jerry said, you probably have to go all in with knowledge, skill set, and build cash. And then once you have cash, diversify that into hard assets, silver, gold, businesses, whatever, real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's time to open offshore accounts. That's funny. 100% all these damn mass shootings are a perfect example of that theory. Exactly. All of a sudden we have mass, they've been talking about gun confiscation. We've hardly had any shootings while Trump was in office. All of a sudden now we have shootings. Because why? You have Biden talking about we need to compensate guns, but all of a sudden we just have mass shootings, right? They play upon our emotions and feelings by setting up these. Don't think that the deep state and the CIA and all these, centralized intelligence agents don't set up and plan catastrophes by plan to usurp our freedoms using a trickery style false flag operation, right? This has been going on for a long time. Look it up. I mean, they did it with the Gulf of Tonkin. They got us in the Vietnam War by saying they attacked one of our ships when they didn't attack it, right? And they sunk a ship, and then we basically sunk our own ship just to start the Vietnam War, because they needed a pretext. They needed a pretext to get it going, right? Mm-hmm. You haven't made it to you have crypto scammers on your post. All right. Good. Let's see. I'm hoarding some silver right now to protect my wealth through the crash that's coming soon. And that's it, Jay. I mean, look, there will be a crash, Jerry. I mean, Jerry, how do you feel about this? Like, what do you think? I mean, we've got to have a crash. We have to have a correction. They're going to start. They have to blow up the system in order to, it's creation, growth, destruction, the cycle of action of, the way things happen. I mean, I would say we're probably at the tail end of destruction, right? And we have to create a new system.
Yeah, I think one thing that's key for me that I look at, this goes all the way back to like 7th grade math, maybe. If you remember the numerator and the denominator, like when you do division, right? The numerator is the thing being divided. The denominator is what you're dividing it by or dividing it into. So if you take asset classes and you numerate them in things like gold, silver, and oil, the crash has already happened. Like you'll see the stock market has been up when you numerated it, when you denominate it in dollars, but when you denominate it in a real asset, it's already crashed. So I think you're right. We will have a big one that happens even in dollars, even in crypto. It doesn't matter. But I think if you actually look at if you remove the red herring and you look at the asset classes denominated by real assets, you'll see invisible crashes that have been happening all along, and nobody notices them because it's dollars, and the Fed can just pump the dollars up.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And guys, like, think with this, right? You know, you don't have to be that bright. Just buy things when they're on a discount. That's all I do, right? And I like, one thing that the real estate wholesaling business model has taught me is how to buy everything at wholesale prices. I was taught, and then I learned how to develop the skill how to buy at a huge discount at wholesale prices, real estate for motivated sellers. Now I've taken that skill set and I just apply it across the board. If I want to buy anything, I try to buy it at wholesale prices, right? I look and see where things are discounted, right? You know, everything. I mean, I wanted to buy my boys some dirt bikes. You think I went and bought brand new? No, I went on Facebook Marketplace and I made 100 offers on dirt bikes until somebody took my offer cash for 40, 50 cents on the dollar, right? Buy things when they're at a discount. Buy things that are valuable. You know, you probably got that freaking stimulus check in and y'all probably went buy brand new Jordans or TVs or cell phones. Listen, you should just be smart about it. The first thing, if you're just watching this, you're a young guy, invest in skill sets, invest in knowledge, right? Go to chrisrood.com, you know, hook up with Jerry, you know, learn about real estate, learn about hard tangible assets. This is what you should do to build wealth, right? Most of you guys will not be billionaires. I probably will not be a billionaire. Jerry will probably not be a billionaire. But you have a very good chance of being a millionaire or a hecto-billionaire, or maybe worth $100 million. You have a way better chance of doing that. You got a better chance of getting struck by lightning or maybe having sex with Marilyn Monroe, right, than becoming a billionaire. It's just not going to happen, folks. Stop watching all these billionaires. These billionaires talk in a whole nother atmosphere, a whole nother world of reality. It's just not real. But you could be worth 20, 30, $100 million if you work really hard. Hell, maybe it's only $10 million. That's something to be proud of, right? So, Jerry, with that said, you know, where's somewhere where can they follow you so you could help them out, or, you know, they know that where to follow me at chrisrood.com. They know about that in mobile home park investing, but where can they go to follow you? Where can they go to where you can help them?
Yeah, if you go to any social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, if you just Google me, Jerry Fetta, Fetta, 2 T's like the cheese, but twice as good. And then you can go to my website, jerryfetta.com. You can get a free copy of my book called How to Create Wealth. And that'll give you guys, like, not everything, but the basics. Like if you're brand new at this, or if you've been, you know, doing this for a while and you feel like you're stuck, not going in the right direction, there's enough in that book that'll give you some traction so you can start getting on the right path and moving down the right path and making some progress.
Awesome.
Website,
and guys,
look, jerryfetta.com.
jerryfetta.com. I'll put it right here. Jerry Fetta is Fetta.
Fetta, 2 T's.
Fetta.com. And guys, listen, you know, do things that can be exchanged in the marketplace that are real, right? Real estate is real. Gold and silver is real. Financial instruments that Jerry teaches are real, right? You know, so and it's not a get rich quick scheme. Like, it's a get rich slow scheme. That's what I teach. You're gonna get rich slow. You're gonna hedge. Anything that gets rich quick will be lost very quick, or quicker, right? You want to build it slow and steady. Like, that's safe, right? So, and you hit booms here and there, but at the end of the day, guys, like, it ain't easy, right? Stop looking for that quick get rich quick scheme like Bitcoin. I feel like that's why I want to do this live with Jerry, because I wanted to vent. I've been waiting a long time to vent this. That the get rich quick scheme is a scheme, folks. I think Bitcoin is a scheme. Is blockchain a technology? Yes. Is Bitcoin going to probably be taken over by the government and implemented? Yes. But these independent guys, they're going to be hosed, guys. So, Jerry, I appreciate you coming on. Follow Jerry. He's a good buddy of mine. He's going to help you. If you're interested in learning more about real estate or coming to the mastermind here in South Louisiana, inbox me. We're having a mastermind on mobile home park investing. and how to cook crawfish etouffee for the economic crash. You can live off crawfish for a little while. Big Mama's crawfish are good. And Jerry, appreciate you, man. Any final last words to these guys?
No, I think we covered it. I would say if you're listening to this and you didn't like it, means we probably called you out on something, and I would watch it again. Like, most of the stuff I do now is shit I didn't like the first time I heard it. So it doesn't mean it's the wrong thing. It just means you need to go back through it and find out what is that thing that you feel called out by, and go learn about it.
Well, most people want to be right, Jerry? You got to be right. And if somebody says you're wrong, you're like, oh no, I'm right. So you have to validate your rightness by disagreeing with when other people saying that you're wrong. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I could be wrong, but if I'm a betting man, I bet you I'm right. So.
Yeah. And look at stats. If you're right and your stats are lower than the guy that says you're wrong, you ain't right.
Well, look, like I said, I look at a lot. Like, I wanted to know about this Bitcoin before I went this live. I studied Bitcoin. Most of the billionaires, besides maybe what's his name, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, which I don't like Bill Gates at all, but he is a billionaire. Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Jim Rogers, they all hate Bitcoin. Hate it.
Yeah.
These are all billionaires. Most of the billionaires are saying Bitcoin's a scam, right?
Yeah.
So
who came out and said it too was Michael Burry.
Oh, wow.
Michael Burry predicted the 2008 crash. So a guy like that comes out and says it's a scam. I'm listening.
Yeah. Well, if it makes money really fast and it's quick and easy, it's most likely a scam. And that's what Bitcoin's history has mostly been. It's quick, easy money, and it's very volatile, and people are getting rich really fast. The skirts or the rug's about to get pulled out from underneath it. It's just a matter of time. So last thing, greed, dude, stick with tangible assets. Bitcoin is a total illusion, man. It's a woozy, it's wasty. What the hell is it? Exactly. I don't know what it is either. So anyway, guys, follow me, follow Jerry, follow people that are saying common sense things. Be real. Don't try to get rich quick. And follow Jerry at jerryfetta.com. And where can they follow you on Instagram?
Just my name, Jerry Fetta.
Jerry Fetta. And you guys need to keep skilling up at chrisrood.com. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next live. Take care. Peace.